Democrats continue to lie about the president and the Republicans' reconciliation package. The biggest lie of all is that they're cutting Medicaid. They're cutting Medicaid. You're cutting Medicaid. Well, this is nothing new for Republicans. We've heard this from Democrats, well, forever. Because if you ever look at a federal program and decide, hey, maybe there's some fraud here, maybe there's some waste, maybe we can do a better job and a more efficient job of doing this, well, then you're called someone who's cutting Medicaid, and you're going to leave children out on the street, and they're going to starve, and they're going to die, and you're going to throw grandma over the cliff. But see, it's different now because this cabinet and this new crop of Republicans, they're not taking this lying down. They're fighting back. It started yesterday with your Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., when he was confronted with the idea that he is cutting Medicaid. Watch this brilliance.
So do you disagree with the cuts that are being proposed for Medicaid right now?
Oh, the cuts to, this is I don't know if you understand this or whether you're just mouthing, the Democratic talking points. The cuts to Medicaid are for fraud, waste, and abuse. And I'll tell you what that means. It means that because of DOGE, we were able to determine, and it's about 8 million people who would be affected. Because of DOGE, we were able to determine that there are 1 million people who are claiming Medicaid from multiple states. That's illegal. It's theft. You're not allowed to do that. There are another 1 million people who are collecting both under Obamacare and Medicaid.
That has nothing to do with the budget that's
These are the only cuts that are being made. These are the only cuts that are being made to Medicaid.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. There are another 1 million illegal aliens. We announced a law yesterday, a rule yesterday, we're not going to pay illegal aliens anymore. And guess what Gavin Newsom did this morning? He said, we're going to take all the illegal aliens off the California Medicaid rolls because the feds aren't paying for them anymore. So the compassion ends.
Secretary, let me focus you on the actual numbers of the budget that's being proposed. Secretary, I regain my time. I think what you are saying is absolutely inaccurate in terms of the 13 million Americans that will lose access to healthcare. Let me tell you, the folks in my district are not actually getting Medicaid in another state. They can't travel to get it in another state. The clinics that are providing that life-saving care are the last resort for folks.
Let me tell you the last category. Last category is adults who are able-bodied, who refuse to look for a job, to volunteer, to get a job, or to show that they are in certain, or to take a part-time job.
I agree with them. That is absolutely not true. The vast majority of folks in a community like mine who are on Medicaid are working. They want to work. People want to be able to make sure that
they're in no danger of losing their Medicaid.
That's just not true. We've seen in time after time, including in Arkansas and Florida and other states, that when you put more red tape, yes, but we've seen this chapter before. When you put more red tape in front of people actually getting that life-saving care, you're going to prevent people from accessing health insurance and being able to go see a doctor.
Medicaid is for poor children. It's for women, for mothers, and it's for the disabled.
It is. And 13 million of those people are going to lose health insurance if this budget becomes law.
They're already losing their health insurance because of all the able-bodied people who are not looking for jobs on Medicaid.
Secretary, I'll just close by saying this.
That's actually a brilliant rebuttal. And you understood exactly what was going on there, right? The cuts to Medicaid. No, here's what's happening. You got 1 million people who are in this country illegally who are getting Medicaid right now. You never hear this Democrat complaining about that. See, if people are having trouble getting Medicaid right now, maybe it's because there's so much fraud and there's so many people who are getting it that shouldn't be getting it. You've got people who are in this country illegally getting it. That's on record. They bragged about it over in California. Gavin Newsom was proud of the fact that he did that. You've got 1 million people who are double dipping in Medicaid and in Obamacare subsidized insurance. You've got a million people who are committing fraud, and they're actually getting 2 different Medicaid accounts. They're, again, Democrats defending criminals who are defrauding the American government and pretending like they're going to be left on the street without any health insurance. It's the same old thing. There's no reason to believe them anymore because they scream that the sky is falling every single time any reform is tried to make is attempted in these programs. And then the other is people who should be trying to get a job who don't even attempt to get a job. They get their free insurance. So who's going to kick them off? And again, this is also kind of a carryover from the COVID-19 pandemic days when Biden was like, everybody gets anything that they want. Go ahead. We don't care. And nobody's looking. There's no oversight. So that's really what's going on here. Let's turn to the House of Representatives, where Representative Dan Crenshaw, congressman from Texas, actually started to lay this out. And he'd had enough. He said, listen, you Democrats are lying. And what's interesting about this entire exchange, as you watch, is that he keeps getting interrupted by Democrats, not actually bringing facts to the table to say, oh, no, we're not lying. Here are the facts about how you're cutting Medicaid. No. Their beef is not with the facts here. They're not contesting the facts. They're angry that Crenshaw's calling them a liar. That's their argument. I'm serious. Watch.
It's 4 a.m. and I want to be clear. I think we got to talk some facts. That's why we're all here, right? Talk facts. And here's a fact. We're not here to cut the Medicaid lifeline for the neediest Americans. It's just a lie. And here's a basic principle.
We decided we weren't going to say lies, so.
We would like to take the words down.
Take my words down. I didn't say any of you were liars. I said it is a lie.
Mr. Chair, I thought we said we were not going to use it.
Well, hey, stop interrupting me. I reclaim my time.
Mr. Green, we decided not to use the word lie, so we're not going to use that word. We decided.
Lie is a common word in the English language, and it's okay. It is a falsehood perpetuated by people who perpetuate falsehoods. Now, here's the basic principle. Medicaid has to be preserved for the people it was meant to help. Children, mothers, seniors, Americans with disabilities. And our mission during this entire process has been very simple. Protect Medicaid for those who genuinely need it so that the program can actually survive in the long term. I want to clear some things up. Here's what Democrats claim, and then the facts they keep ignoring. Some might call these lies, but I won't. I'll just suggest that they are stating blatant falsehoods. Are you happy with that? Number one, Democrats say we're kicking poor people off Medicaid. Here's the reality. CBO numbers. 4.8 million of those numbers are from able-bodied adults choosing not to work. They're not being kicked off. They're being told to work or volunteer or look for work. That directly contradicts what was just said by Ms. Schreier, by the way. 1.6 million are duplicative enrollees who are enrolled in 2 states at the same time.
He used a colleague's name.
You see what's going on here. He's actually delivering the facts. He's blasting away the lies that continue to be told. Oh, they're cutting Medicaid and children are going to go without health insurance. They're going to die without any medical care. And old people are going to die without any medical care. And poor people are going to die without medical care. And he's actually explaining how that's not the case. And what are they upset about so far? He used the word lie. And now he has to be stopped because he actually used a colleague's name. You're not allowed to refer to anybody. So you're not allowed to call a lie. And you're not allowed to refer to one of your fellow congressmen by their name. And so he must be stopped. What a monster. And this is why the American people are sick and tired and fed up with these people. We just had enough. Seriously, just start from scratch, man. They have reached such a point in their arrogance that this is what their problem is. So let's just be clear here. Democrats can say of Republicans and Donald Trump that he doesn't care about children and wants them to die. And they're allowed to say that with impunity. But if you dare say, excuse me, but that's a lie, well, how dare you? How dare you say that about me? Well, wait a second. You just said that I was willing to murder children. Well, yeah. But you can't call me a liar. That's beyond the pale. This is Congress. This is your Congress. But again, I got to hand it in. And Crenshaw, listen, Crenshaw's a mixed bag. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's insufferable. But he's laying out the facts here, and they can't deal with it. And it's exactly why people hate Congress.
I was just... What? I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
If I could roll 2 eyes, I would.
So we're not using the word lie, and we're not in debate using a colleague in the room's name. So if you did that,
all right. Let me rephrase. It directly contradicts the statement that was just made by one of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. Here's another number. 1.6 million are duplicative enrollees who were enrolled in 2 states at the same time. Here's another number. 1.2 million individuals, they're not even eligible for coverage in the first place, just according to the laws that we have. Another 1.4 million people are illegal immigrants. That's not exactly the narrative they've been spinning, is it? Number 2, Democrats say we're taking away substance abuse treatment. That is just false. This bill specifically exempts individuals with substance use disorders, full stop. Number 3, Democrats say we're cutting Medicaid. Here's the reality. An actual analysis by CBO Medicaid baseline projection shows Medicaid spending will still grow by 6.5% above 2021 projections, even after this $800 billion in savings. So let me ask you, how can one honestly claim we're cutting a program that is actually still growing? Just intellectually. How can you claim that? Asking for a friend. Number 4, Democrats say there aren't illegal aliens in Medicaid. Here's the reality. We know states are doing this. California uses a managed care organization tax scheme to shift costs to the federal government. That frees up about $5.2 billion in state funds. California then uses that money to pay for Medicaid coverage for illegal immigrants, skirting the federal ban. This bill closes the loophole by cutting federal funding by 10% for states that use Medicaid or other state-based programs to cover illegal immigrants. Vast majority of Americans would agree with that. Number 5, Democrats say we're causing steep state budget cuts by changing provider tax and state-directed payment rules. Here's the reality. State-directed payments in Medicaid managed care arrangements have actually grown by about 62% between February 2023 and August of 2024. These payments do have a place in supporting our hospitals. Texas uses them to support our most needy, but you have to have common sense. You can't let them grow out of control and let them grow indefinitely. All we're doing is freezing the provider tax and state-directed payments. That's it. It's a freeze. This will preserve payments for hospitals that need them. So guess what? Again, no cuts. The sky is not falling. Look, in summary, this bill is nothing like Democrats claim. Nothing. It's past 3 a.m., and I've watched my colleagues make false statement after false statement for the sole purpose of scaring the most vulnerable in our society. Democrats have forced disabled Medicaid recipients to travel to D.C. and crowd the committee room for nothing but cynical political theater. And my message to all of you who are tricked into being here, guess what? Your Medicaid benefits aren't at risk under this bill. Full stop. They're using you, and they're lying to you. Notice how
Mr. Chairman, take it down. You need to educate your member. Come on.
Take my words down.
Well,
I just want to point out one last thing.
Can you suspend? Can you suspend? We agree we're not going to call each other out in debate or use
Not that many
lie, so
synonyms
please
for the
honor
term
that.
lying.
Please honor
Mr.
that.
Chairman, you've
You're
already warned him. You need to
chair.
take his words down.
Take 'em
You
down.
already warned him. He did it again. You
Take 'em
need to
down.
take his words down. I would
The
like to get
committee
a
will
parliamentarian
suspend.
ruling on this.
Listen to
The
the
committee
lady
will
in the yellow
suspend.
shirt.
You're disrespecting your chair.
And he said,
It's
take
his
my words
ruling.
down. He's being a jerk. Oh, my apologies. I didn't.
All right. So now at 3:30 in the morning, they suspend everything to decide what to do about Congressman Crenshaw because he called liars liars. And that's what happens in the House of Representatives. But see, here's the thing. I'm a simple man, and I know you're just a simple American too. This shouldn't be that hard. There's either going to be a so-called cut to Medicaid that means that desperate, needy people who deserve that program will not get that program because mean Republicans and Trump are Hitler or something, and they're cutting the program, and those people will be out on the street when they'll die on our sidewalks. Or that is a lie. Can't be both. It's going to be one or the other. They're either correct, they're either being honest, and that children are going to die and needy mothers are going to die because Republicans are cutting their benefits, or they're lying about that. And that the actual cuts are actually savings because we're no longer going to give Medicaid insurance to illegal immigrants and to people who are defrauding the program and who are men who are able-bodied and refuse to try to find work, which is what Republicans are saying. And it's up to us to figure it out. Okay, who do we believe? Do we believe Republicans and Trump, or do we believe Democrats, right? That's what we have to decide now. Well, I mean, we can certainly look at the facts and the numbers and the data, and we just had Crenshaw and Secretary Kennedy give us quite a bit of that seems pretty credible. But then there's also this. I mean, if we're reduced to just believing one side or the other based on their track record, based on their veracity, based on whether they've ever lied to us before, well, let me show you once again yesterday the leader of the Democrats, the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, when he was asked specifically about what he knew about Joe Biden's health and capabilities when he worked intimately with him side by side in the Oval Office in that final year of 2024, when, as we've learned in this book now by Jake Tapper, everything was falling apart and he was incapable of carrying out his duties. The leader of the Democrats, who were claiming that Medicaid is being cut right now, he was asked about this, and here was his answer.
What I can say is that we're not looking backward. We're going to continue to look forward, because at this moment, we've got real problems that need to be addressed on behalf of the American people, including the Republican effort to snatch away health care, snatch away food assistance, and hurt veterans.
You interacted with President Biden during those days, those final days he was president of the United States. Did you sense there was a major deterioration?
Well, in the conversations that I was able to have on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus in those final days, we simply expressed our perspective as to what would be best for the party at that given moment in time. President Biden subsequently made the decision that he was going to pass the baton to Vice President Kamala Harris. Of course, that was a decision that we supported strongly.
Just very quickly, I want to ask you, Congressman Jeffries, you say we're not looking back, we're looking forward, but what happened in the past has to do with what's going to happen in the future and whether voters can trust Democrats. As you look back, you were in a leadership position when President Biden decided to run again. Should you have done more at that point to intervene?
It's a great question in terms of whether voters can trust Democrats or not. Every single high-profile special election that has taken place since President Trump was inaugurated, a special election victory in Iowa in January, a special election victory in New York in February, a special election victory in Pennsylvania in March, a special election victory in Wisconsin in the Supreme Court race in April, and yesterday, decisively defeating a Republican incumbent in Omaha in a surprise to many observers. Clearly, voters are trusting Democrats.
Yeah, but the question wasn't, can voters trust Democrats, which we can't. The question was, did you do more or should you have done more to intervene? And he, of course, ignored that question. He evaded that question. And then he lied earlier in the question and answer with Wolf Blitzer, completely ignored it and said, we're not looking in the past. We want to look forward because Republicans are trying to cut Medicaid. So let's just boil this down here. It's super important, because the question about how Democrats conducted themselves with Joe Biden, the lie that we all know they told and participated in and covered up and continue to engage in that cover up today by not being honest and not coming clean and not being truthful, it has everything to do with the Medicaid debate, because ultimately we have to decide who we're going to believe. And they are still engaged in this giant lie. They're still engaged in this giant cover up, and they can't come to terms with the fact that we all know the truth. We all saw the truth as it was happening. And if they're willing to lie about that, if they're willing to lie about whether the man sitting in the Oval Office is capable and competent enough to be president of the United States, and we know they lied about that, if they're willing to lie about that, then it's nothing to lie to you and say that Republicans are cutting Medicaid, which is exactly what they're doing. The only difference is this time, we actually have Republicans who are willing to engage, defend themselves, tell the truth, and fight, fight, fight.